the one, the only Benzion. Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun Benzion. Today we're concluding Masechah Sotah, the last daf Masechah Sotah, daf Mem Tes, number 49. I want to give a shir today that basically wraps up a lot of what Masechah Sotah is trying to get across. I've been seeing a lot on the internet recently about, people speculating what the main cause of divorce is. Some people say it's because one spouse cheats on the other spouse. Most people say it's because of money. People get into argument. The wife has complaints against the husband. Why he's not earning enough money? The husband has to complain on the wife. Why are you spending all my money for no reason? So they fight about that. It's true. The Gemara mentions that's important. Cheating, definitely. If someone cheats on you, at least cheats multiple times on you, so shows not interested in you. It's a good grounds for divorce. But is that really the cause of divorce, or is that just a pretext? That's just an excuse to get divorced. So you tell people you get divorced for. Is that the real reason? Rabbi Manas Friedman, the number one rabbi on YouTube, he has a different feeling. He says because the woman doesn't respect the husband, and the husband doesn't feel like a provider, doesn't love the wife, which is true, but that's not a reason to get divorced. And speaking of getting divorced, the Masechtas Gittin is the next Masechta. It tells you at the end of the Masechta tells you need grounds for divorce, even in a secular court. The Gemara discusses that at the very end of Masechtas Gittin. But I believe this is Masechta Sotah. And usually a sotah is a woman, a sotah, if she's at least suspected of cheating on her husband, which is usually grounds for divorce. But why does she cheat on her husband? The Gemara says, sotah comes the word shtus, right? Even the Rambam, he writes the word sotah not as a samech with a sin, sotah, which if you read as a shin, is shoteh, a deranged person, a crazy person, and that's really why people get divorced. Meaning, it's not a smart idea to get divorced. If you're married a couple years, you don't have any kids, it's not terrible. Once you have kids, it's a bad idea. It just doesn't make any sense. Even if you don't like your wife and the wife doesn't like the husband, stay together. For not just for the kids, for you. Because it's a horrible situation to have kids that have two parents growing up. Maybe when the kids are married off, some people get divorced. But even then, it makes things complicated. And a lot of times, you'll get remarried. The husband will remarry, and the wife could remarry. So you have four parents now, and things get very complicated, especially with the children. A lot of fights. It's not really a good thing. So it's never really a good idea to get divorced. I mean, there's very few reasons to actually get divorced. But I believe the main cause of people getting divorced is what this Masechta talks about a lot, and it's gasas haruach, arrogance. One person, ruach shtus, a crazy thought goes into people's mind. I'm better than my wife. I deserve better. Or the wife thinks, I deserve a better husband. I'm a great woman. I'm a very special woman. I deserve a better husband. And oftentimes, the Gemara says, really, that's really arrogant. It's really arrogance. Usually people think a lot more of themselves than they really are. And people think I can get better. And I can get a better looking wife. I can get a more sociable wife. Or the woman says, I can get a more fun husband. I can get someone who's better taking care of me, more responsible, earns more money. End of the day, whatever, you might find a different person who is better in some areas, but he's going to be worse in other areas. Everyone has their weaknesses and everyone has their strengths. So usually that's the misguided notion. It's just this ruach shtus we get in people's head, and people go along with this crazy thought. They're better than the other person. The Masechta ends off where the Gemara says that when Rebbe died, the Mishnah says, Batla anava yiraschet. True humility in Yiraschet stopped. So what does the Gemara mean, or the Mishnah means, when it says that Batla anava Yiraschet, when Rebbe died, true humility stopped, and true fear of sin stopped. He was a humble person. Anava means to be humble. But the end of the Masechta says, Amar Rav Yosef Latan, or Yosef, when he heard this Mishnah, he said, Lo sisne anava. Don't include the word anava. When Rebbe died, there was no one humble anymore. The ikana. Because there's me. I'm humble. Imagine saying, right, that's the opposite of humility, is to say he's humble. Amar le Rav Nachman Latan, Rav Nachman heard this Mishnah, Lo sisne yiraschet. The ikana. Don't say Rebbe, he was the last one to have true fear of sin. I also have fear of sin. Now, both of these statements seem to be haughty, seem to be arrogant. I mentioned many times that real arrogance is exaggerating what you really are, thinking that you're better than what you actually are. But people who know what they really are and know what they excel in, I believe Rav Yosef really excelled in humility. He was able to say with full humility that I'm great in humility. He's great at assessing truthfully who he is. That's what his quality. And Rav Nachman also had humility, apparently, to say that he has yiras chet. He actually reached a level where he feared sin, and he could actually say many years later, Rebbe was a Tana, Rav Nachman was, I think, a second generation, a third generation Amora. And he could say about himself that I was on the level of Rebbe. Even though we always say that the later generations never reached the earlier generations, I don't believe that at all. I really don't believe that. I think it's a mistaken notion in Judaism that for some reason, if you lived in an earlier generation, you're better than someone who lived in the present generation. Right? Mashiach didn't come in your generation. It's possible to come in our generation. So, and it didn't come at all in those generations. It will come in one of the later generations. So, the later generations, just like they're more technologically advanced, the quality of life is better. I think, we might be sitting on the shoulders of the previous generations, but we're better than them. I mean, we're better. I think the later generations are better. They're more focused. They know, they have a lot of their physical needs taken care of, so they will dedicate themselves to real accomplishments. And people, and these are later generations, I'm saying that they also had the same levels of piety as earlier generations. Because you can be truthful, you're truthful yourself, right? So you can assess who you are. And it's not arrogant to say that you're humble if you really are humble, if you really are someone who assesses yourself accurately and you don't exaggerate yourself. And you'll have a happy marriage if you do that, if you're able to realize, to not take yourself so seriously, realize that I'm not that great. I'm not, unless you really are, because there are people that really have accomplished a lot. And if you did accomplish a lot, you should be extremely proud about it. If people compliment you on that, you should take those compliments. In the right situations, you should talk about your great accomplishments. If you really did accomplish a lot in this world, whether it be in Torah learning, whether it be in spiritual heights, whether it be in the secular world, if you're great in business, or you're great in charity work, or things like that, or great in sports, a person who's really good. If Michael Jordan says he's the greatest basketball player ever, that's not arrogance, it's the truth. I hope you enjoyed the last year in Maseches Sotah. See you tomorrow in Maseches Gittin.